I think the Hornets finally broke my partner, Doug Branson. We tried to put him back together after this game, watching Charlotte lose another one and another bad one at that. What were some of the positives? It's hard to find, but we tried here on Locked On Hornets today.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. We can see Doug Branson on YouTube, not a happy Doug Branson. You can check out his not so happy thoughts on his substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. You can listen to me, Walker Mail, every weekday on WFNZ from 12 to 3 p.m. So, Doug, your Christmas tree, as we've mentioned a few times when you've been broadcasting at home, the lights are out on top. I feel like that represents who you are. As a person and as a Hornets fan, as it stands in this moment, we're recording right after the Pacers lost. Like, it just ended, a few minutes ago, literally 5 minutes ago. And then we started recording. I feel like the lights are out up top for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Indiana Pacers, they can score the basketball. They've put 150 plus on teams twice this year. They can't defend. They've also been two teams have scored 150 points on them this season. But look, they can score the basketball, and the Hornets could not in I think critical portions of this game, and they just could not defend the Pacers at all. Buddy Hield had 19 points in the third quarter. Tyrese dished out 13 assists. I was just scrolling the box score at the end of the game. Of the 12 players that played a single minute for the Indiana Pacers in this game, 9 of them shot above 50%. And one of the players that didn't was Tyrese Halliburton, who shot 42% on 14 shots. It was kind of a mild game for Halliburton. The Hornets got blown out. And I thought by the end of the game, they had just quit trying on defense. And I think at this point in the Hornets season, even though they got a little bit of healthier in this game, they got Gordon Hayward back, they got Nathan Mensah back. Obviously, Miles Bridges rejoined the team after not being able to cross the border because of a felony conviction or a felony no contest plea. They get a little healthier, but I guess my expectation at this point, Walker, is just don't get blown out. Don't get blown out. Look, Philadelphia, fine. It's one of the elite teams in the East. And I get that Indiana, made a run in the in-season tournament, but I wouldn't necessarily call them an elite team in the East. That you can score on them just as much as you can get scored on by them, and the Hornets couldn't manage that. My buddy texted me and said, I took the Hornets. I guess he did one of these mid-game bets, and he took the Hornets at plus 20.5, and he lost that bet. By 10 points.
Look at you. You're delirious.
I don't know what to say.
Doug,
that's sick.
I'm
Taking the Hornets at plus 20.5 is sick. He bet all his Christmas money. His kids aren't getting Christmas this year because the Hornets couldn't bother to not get blown out by 20 points.
I'm actually laughing at, but I can't get myself together. We are delirious here. This is what happens when you talk about this team every day for about an hour. I'm about to cry a little bit because I watched you knowing the premise. I watched you almost crying to me back in the camera. And then I thought about my guy losing money on the Hornets at plus 20.5. They could have still lost by 20 and he still would have won. That half point was really doing him a favor. It was helping him. The half point can't even help him here. And now his kids don't get any Christmas presents. So I said in the cold open that I wanted to focus on at least one positive. Can I give you the biggest positive from tonight, Doug? I think there is something that matters a lot going forward. I do. So I think tonight Brandon Miller was the most aggressive I had ever seen him on an NBA court. Mm-hmm. And I think that matters a lot. We've talked about how great Brandon Miller has been so far this year. It's really all been off-ball shot making from the perimeter and the mid-range, making secondary smart decisions, plays for others, 2-3 assists per contest, 4 is on the high end for him. That's what you can expect from a good but also solid, consistent performance from your rookie. What you could not expect from him was dishing out contact, welcoming the physicality, and finishing or even going after shots at the rim. You saw him do that tonight. The Pacers are a bad defensive team. What I like about Brandon is that he comes into this game and he realizes, you know what? The Pacers might score 140. They did. But we also have that opportunity. And they're also soft on the perimeter. Tyrese Halliburton, great offensive player, not a good defender. Buddy Hield, great shooter, not a good defender. They're small. Miles Turner, even with him, being such a great shot blocker, he's had his moments of being a top 90th percentile defender in the NBA. That's true. But on this team, it's not there for him right now. Brandon took advantage of that. And if there was somebody smaller and soft like Tyrese, you could see him give him a shoulder. Same thing where there was a play where Buddy Hield tried to stay in front of him, and he gave Buddy Hield the shoulder where Buddy, actually went straight up, but Brandon was welcoming it. And so at that, he actually goes off for 21. I thought he had more, to be honest with you. It felt like Brandon scored 30. I really thought he might be going for a career high. It felt like that, but still scoring 21 points, 9 of 17 from the field, but only 4 3-point attempts. 4 out of the 17 field goal attempts that he had were from distance. And so that's a good thing, in my opinion. Early on, it was a lot of mid-range stuff. It almost was like a message from Steve Clifford, maybe, that, hey, why don't you take it to the rack? This is your time to do so. And he did. I think offensively, I did like a lot of what I saw from Brandon, giving us something that he usually doesn't. And I don't even want to say that he never does. We saw that in this game on some volume. Like, it wasn't just a couple of plays. Like, he did that a few times here.
Oh, yes, I think in terms of him, creating for himself, you're right. This was a little bit more of a on-ball Brandon Miller performance than we've seen over the past couple of games. But just in terms of the number of shots that he's taken, he's been almost eerily consistent. If you look at his game log, 17 in this game, field goal attempts, 16 the previous 4 games before that, and then 14, 15, 14, and 13 to wrap up the month of December. So a slight tick up as we've closed out this month of December, but at the same time, relatively consistent what he's been getting since he's been a starter. And I think generally he plays the same way against good defenses that he plays against bad defenses. I don't think he really, in some kind of major way, changes the way that he plays. And against really good defenses, you can see him often kind of dribbling into trouble too much and turning it over, which he'll clean up. I'd rather a guy, honestly, at this stage of his career, being a rookie, and making the number of good decisions that he does make throughout a game, I would rather him play the same way, learn through those mistakes, because to me that shows confidence in his game. He understands, like, I know how to play. My body's going to catch up eventually. My dribbling ability, my handling ability is going to catch up eventually. And when he gets opportunities to play a team like Indiana, you saw it early on in the game. He had a nice little dribble move, was patient with his dribble, got his defender on his back, and made a nice move to get to the rack through 2 defenders. Yeah. So, like, stuff like that, you go, okay, again, against a bad defense, that's going to work. Against a good defense, it may or may not work, but he's going to try the same thing, and that's what you love to see from a rookie who is as skilled as he is.
And so doing quick math, I'm bringing up the game log myself. I think this is the most amount of 2-point field goals he's ever taken in a game. It's the most that he's taken since you have to go all the way back to Brooklyn on October 30th, where he took 11 2-point field goal attempts, and here he took 13. It's the most that I've seen, which, okay, yeah, you want him to shoot. He's clearly a great shooter. But I think in order to get to a superstar type of level, which is what you want him to be as a second overall pick, I think you need to start seeing him take advantage of some of the smaller guys that might be out on him when he's out there on the perimeter. And that's what he did tonight. So we aren't going to see it every single game. I like that we saw it. We hadn't seen it. We hadn't seen it at that level, and we saw it here tonight. And that's my takeaway. Like, instead of us laughing deliriously in a straitjacket, rocking back and forth, the Hornets lost by 30 again. It's fine. Everything is okay while there's fire all around us. We can look to Brandon Miller as the fire extinguisher to put out at least something. At least something. That's the fire extinguisher. It's Brandon Miller's attack tonight.
And what's really exciting, just if you're projecting out to the future, when you look at his game here, is that yes, he was able to attack those smaller matchups, and when he was pushing it in transition, he was getting, I think, matched up on some bigger guys in transition that he wasn't able to like physically move through, but he will someday. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I say, when the body's going to catch up, he's going to be able to force those guys to foul him in those situations. So he's already scoring. He's already shown an ability to kind of easily go out there and score 15. I mean, I think next season, the season after that, he's going to be easily able to score 20. And then, we're going to be seeing him sooner rather than later putting up 40 burgers and 50 burgers. Like, he is just that talented offensively that it's all of this becomes exciting. And he was throwing up alley-oops to Miles Bridges. I mean, there's a little bit of everything in this game.
Yeah.
Here's something crazy. I mean, he's the second option on this team right now. Like, it's Terry Rozier and this Brandon Miller. It's not Miles Bridges, I don't think. I think Brandon Miller's option number 2 on this team right now. It's crazy.
I think on ball, it certainly seems that way. And then Miles just feeds off of, cuts and transition. And every once in a while, he'll take it to the rack as well. But you're right. I think it's both Terry and Brandon. It certainly was early in the first and second quarter. I think Miles got more involved, if I'm not mistaken, in the third and fourth. But early, it was definitely a two-man game out there in the backcourt. All right, plenty more to get to. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere.
Let's go with more Terry Rozier. How about Terry? Also trying to help us out at the beginning of this game, and then we'll talk about where it all went wrong. That's still to come on the Locked On Hornets podcast. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. If you've ever thought about starting therapy, then give BetterHelp a try, because whether or not your family gives gifts during the holidays, you get to define how you give to yourself. And the holidays are a great time to do that. So whether it's by starting therapy, going easier on yourself during the tough moments, or treating yourself to a day of complete rest, remember to give yourself some love this holiday season. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and then you can even switch therapist anytime for no additional charge. Versatile BetterHelp is. What you can do is you can go to BetterHelp right now and go to betterhelp.com/lockedonnba, and you can get 10% off your first month. So it's the season of giving. Give yourself what you need with BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP, BetterHelp.com/lockedonnba. More Locked On Hornets ahead. All right, it's now time for the Blitzed segment. We just got through the shellac segment. Yeah, now we go to Blitzed, and then coming up next, it's Merry Christmas. That's the show rundown. The show was amazing from the start. We really just had a laughing session for about 3 minutes because we're just hysterical at this point watching the Charlotte Hornets. All right, Doug, where do you want to take us? And here's the steering wheel. You can turn it into a ditch somewhere off the highway. You can just take us on whatever exit you want to. The steering wheel is yours. Where do you want us to? Where do you want to take us?
Well, it's not mine because you already set the GPS to Terry Rozier. So we've got to go visit Terry Rozier and check in on how he's doing. And through the first quarter of this game, he was doing fantastic. It was not scary Terry. It was takeover Terry to end that first quarter, hit that big step back three over the long arms of Jalen Smith that took an Indiana lead that had ballooned almost to 10 points in the first quarter. Anyway, they ended at 31-29 in the first quarter, and a lot of that thanks to Terry because he scored the final 7 points of either team, 7-0 run to end for Charlotte, and he scored the final 10 for the Hornets. Huge quarter for Terry Rozier, but unfortunately couldn't really keep it going throughout the game because he finished 10 of 26. I said he was the number one option. I wasn't kidding. He took 26 shots. 2 of 10 from 3. Not a terribly efficient night for Terry, but he does finish with 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. He was on triple-double alert towards, I guess if they had finished out the game and not gotten blown out by 30 points, he would have been on triple-double watch, but alas, here we are. So Terry Rozier, good first quarter, but I think I'll say what I said in the last episode, which is I think you're seeing Terry Rozier feel some of the similar pressures that he started to feel without LaMelo Ball for an extended period of time last season. We had been praising Terry Rozier for fighting those off early in this season and becoming more of a distributor, or at least early in the period at which, LaMelo Ball left with the ankle injury, that he had fought off some of those demons and started to, dish out more. And look, 7 assists. I think that was team high for the game as well. But, I think he's taking some probably more ill-advised shots that were reminiscent of last season.
Yeah, so 26, it's a season high so far with the amount of field goal attempts he took in this. When he had 25 a couple of times, his high mark in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022 was 27, just to go to show you, like, Terry Rozier was taking as many shots as we've basically seen him on the high end during his Hornets career. And I told you right from the first quarter, I tweeted it out. Tonight's a shooting night for Terry.
Yeah.
We have been seeing him pick and roll, good decision-making, right? Trying to get others involved. Okay, I'll wait for Nick Richards to roll. All right, I'll hit PJ Washington on the pick and pop. Nah, man, this is when I'm going to be taking these shots. Now, I referenced those two players for a reason, because it did feel like Terry was a little faster than both of those players at different times. And so he decided, well, bleep this, I'm just going to shoot this thing. And in both circumstances, I think he made them. So this was a shooting Terry night. He was going to take over. Still had 7 assists, but this is one where he was going to let that thing fly. And also, it's totally fine. This is not a knock on him, right? It's against the Pacers. Their defense isn't good. Let somebody that is your best shot maker take the most amount of shots. It makes all the sense. And, Brandon Miller was that guy for you too early on. It was clearly Terry and Brandon. Miles Bridges got involved a little bit more so, but this was we're going to let that thing fly night for Terry.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would help if there were more three-point shooting threats on this team. To me, that would take the pressure off of Terry Rozier to create so much of the offense. But so many times, I'm going to pick on a couple of guys here. So many times throughout this game and a lot of these games, Bryce McGowan's, I'm going to pick on him because we were praising him in the last game because he steps up, starts in place of Gordon Hayward, makes some good plays as a big-time block, good plays on both ends of the floor. But there's so many times this season where he's been wide open in the corner. Problem is he's wide open for a reason, because he can't hit those shots, right? Miles Bridges, there was a point at the beginning of this game where I wrote in my game notes, Miles Bridges is not just missing threes this season. He's missing them very badly. So badly that one would be forgiven for thinking, why is this guy shooting? He cannot hit outside shots right now. And so Terry, I think, is forced to fill that gap. And look, when you're playing a team like the Pacers that can fill it up like they can, three-point shooting becomes even more important just to keep pace with what they're trying to do out there. But we should mention before we move off of this topic that Terry Rozier did hit a milestone. He passed Glenn Rice for 5th all-time in Hornets scoring. That's a big deal for a guy that was, I think, seen in a lot of ways, I won't say throw-in that Kemba Walker situation, but I think when he came over, everyone was like, what is Terry, really? Yeah, bring it in. I know exactly what that storyline was. Like, at the time, remember, Kemba Walker leaves in a sign-and trade, and anytime you would even reference it for what it technically was, a trade, people are almost mad at you for mentioning that it was indeed a trade. No, it was not. You didn't trade Kemba Walker. It was free agency. Kemba left, and you got Terry Rozier. It was nothing. Like, it was strong. It was a strong reaction. I'm very confident, like, remembering how people would talk about that if you mentioned how Kemba left. And then Terry goes to a second contract. And, while I might not have agreed with that contract, it's certainly a big one that you could understand why the Hornets would dish that out. And now, in a season of injuries this year, and even last year, here's Terry helping us out. That's go ahead and bring it up. That's $1.
Go ahead and bring it up. I know I gave you an opportunity.
I got the Flynn bucket
There
hat.
it is.
It came from Hat Club. It's a little Hornets bucket hat. So we started the Flynn bucket hat. That's $1 fine for coughing up a lung in the middle of the show. I don't care if it's right before Christmas. I'm not letting you off the hook. Last show before Christmas, no sir. That's $1.
All right. Well, I don't have any kids. I don't have a baby. I got dogs. I guess they don't get a bone this Christmas. Good for you. You took the bone away from the beagle. How do you feel? All I wanted to say.
How do you feel? Drink some water.
It's on you.
Drink some apple juice.
You. All right. I'll go get some in a moment. All I wanted to say was, yes, you're so right in that when Terry came over, it was not, a warm welcome. It was not. And now, it's Terry that's still in the league playing very well. And if he gets traded, I think we're at a point now where people will understand it, but, kind of maybe a little sad. Like, I think that might be okay. Like, oh, okay. That's frustrating. Like, because Terry was helping us out the last couple of years. And here he is, a top 5 scorer in franchise history. And it's the best thing to show for it in the postseason are a couple of play-in blowouts.
Yeah,
and so
you just got to the ultimate point, which is that I think the team is so broken at this point that yes, people would be sad that Terry Rozier would move on because they have some fond memories of him stepping up in big moments. They would be less sad if that happened to Gordon Hayward because they don't have those moments. All they have are Eric Collins and Steve Clifford and James Borrego and Del Curry repeating the mantra of Gordon Hayward, adult in the room. That's all we have. But with Terry, you have step backs. You have like, how in the world did he hit that layup? Kind of moments with him and clutch Terry, scary Terry. And so, yeah, people will be a little bit sad, but they will understand because whatever needs to happen to fix whatever is broken with this team, people are going to be willing to live with outside of, getting rid of Miller or LaMelo or anything like that.
Sure. All right. So we just got through Shellacked. We just finished Blitzed. It's now time for Merry Christmas. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
You're right. You are Debbie Downer.
The Hornets give us a lump of coal. That's what they give us right before we get to Christmas holiday. At least there is a game on Saturday. Who's it against? Oh, the defending champs. All right, cool. Either way, we'll see what they can do. They've defended Jokic pretty well in the past, so maybe we can get to that game. That'll be coming up here in just a moment.
Yes, they don't have Mark Williams.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, despite not having Mark Williams, despite not having Mark, maybe they can pull off the upset and give us a nice Christmas present. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America, and it's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. That's it. Numbers aren't so scary. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and the Sharks are scary. You pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in. With the basketball season here, you can pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. I'm telling you, the more than on Brandon Miller and Chuba Hubbard, I think that's the winning duo right now. Both of those guys. Terry Rozier, too. You can pick more than. But Chuba, that's going to be your best bet if you want to keep it local with Carolina. Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy, so your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. We know how valuable that is for both teams here in Charlotte. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Once more, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. One more segment to go. Locked On Hornets. Doug, there was a moment as we get to Steve Clifford. There was a moment where we didn't hear it like the hot mic with him telling Nick Richards to set the bleeping screen, but it was right after Brandon Miller had a really awful closeout against Buddy Hield, and Buddy Hield slammed it. It was one of his 2 dunks, and it set Eric Collins into like, holy hell. Like we saw a dunk from Buddy Hield. It's so fun to see Eric see something rare happen from the opposition. Kyle Anderson comes to mind, loves making fun of slow-mo, but we saw it with who was it? It was Landry Shamet dunked a basketball, and I think Eric Collins tossed it there. Yeah, exactly. Shamet. That's what happened with Buddy Hield tonight. But it was after that play, and then the camera pans to Steve Clifford, and he drops another F-bomb. He is wildly frustrated. I think it was after that play. So Steve Clifford clearly not happy. We just listened to the audio of him talking to Ashley Shamity after the game. I mean, Doug, he's dejected. We know what it is. He's been to this, but man, he was dejected afterwards.
Well, they got absolutely crushed on the ball. I mean, crushed. Almost every single matchup was just a nightmare in terms of on-ball penetration, and they knew it at the end of the first half because I believe it was Bob Byer at the half break was saying, "Hey, what's the one thing you got to fix?" And it was half court. Which half court defensively, they've actually been pretty decent this season. And again, this was a game where you did get a little bit healthier. You don't have Mark Williams. That is going to affect your ability to defend as well as you possibly can in the half court. But they just got crushed. Just possession after possession, guys one-on-one, blow by, and then that would just send this team into scramble mode. And this team is not – look, I would say that they're generally not a great help team anyway, but when you're getting when you provide no resistance on the ball, it is just impossible for this team to guard. And it was corner threes, just simple drop-offs for layups. It was just happening over and over again, and that's how you allow, that's how you cancel Christmas for a friend of mine who bet the buzz. 20.5 plus.
Don't bet the buzz. Don't. Whatever you do. Whatever you do, just don't bet the buzz. Yeah, it's funny you bring up Mark Williams. So the Hornets, he's only played 2 games in December, and he's been out for a little while now. Tried coming back against Toronto on December 8th. It was the first time. It was during the win, actually. Coincidentally, maybe not so coincidentally. It was in the win 119-116. But you can tell, like, even with Mark not being a physical basketball player himself, like, he helps cleans up the free runs to the rim, Doug. Because what happens is you have to go PJ Washington small ball 5. I think PJ does a great job contesting and actually providing some resistance. But what happened in the first quarter is he provides resistance, and then there's a missed layup, and then a Pacer comes up with an offensive rebound and has the easiest bucket in the world because nobody boxes out. So when you don't
nobody boxes out on this team. Nobody boxes out on this team. It is the craziest thing I've ever seen. It is. So I didn't know.
Go ahead.
I didn't know what
I'm going to call you for $1, but go ahead.
Thank you. All right. Well, I've got it right here. I don't have any cash on me right now, but I've got it. I'll Venmo it to you. I owe you. I'll put a little Post-it note in there. Look. I didn't know what bad defense was, honestly, until this team. And I thought I knew it a couple of years ago under Borrego. I thought, like, oh, wow, this team can really score it, but they can't stop anyone. This team has taken me to new depths of bad defense. It's crazy.
So, right, like, the idea is that they can't stop anybody, and they can't keep anybody in front of them. All you have to do is set – if there's any resistance whatsoever, if there's any at the point of attack, they set one screen and all hell breaks loose. So they're able to get downhill after they set one screen. They take out whoever the guard is at the top. Then they have dribble penetration. Now it's whatever you want to do. You can with Mark down there. It's not that like that. That's why Mark is still valuable to this team. We are seeing it. And I think you see it even against a team like Indiana, where he's long, he's smart, he's not strong, he's not physical. But that big old 9'9" standing reach hand, at least affecting your thought process when you're in the paint, that matters. Because it just doesn't happen when PJ. So they try PJ. Like, and I'll stand on it, man. PJ does defend the rim. He does contest. But then again, it's just nobody boxing out, somebody getting the offensive rebound and then putting it up again. like Nick Richards will get scored on one-on-one. I think Miles got one on PJ just because if there's a tall matchup and they're able to have a successful post feed, that's when PJ's really vulnerable. Like if he doesn't stop you from getting position, if you have position on PJ, then it's probably going to be over with just with some of these bigger players. So that's why, as much as Mark has deservedly been criticized, and I know you've been on this earlier, but you've been right, Doug. He still makes a big old difference. He does make yes, no, you're welcome. But he does make a difference, and I think this is one of those games where you could see it.
Well, the problem with Nick Richards when he plays against starting bigs is that he bites on like every single ball fake, and starting bigs and starting guards too.
Yeah.
And you know, unfortunately for Nick Richards, he has to guard a lot of starting guards because the guards for the Hornets can't keep anybody in front, right? And so he bites on these ball fakes, and he just fouls over and over. And what are the Pacers? It wasn't just him, you know, but the Pacers, this entire team can't stop fouling. But the Pacers, how many free throws? 30 free throw attempts. They hit 28 of them.
28.
It's going to be impossible to beat a team when they go 28 for 30 from the free throw line. So it's just, again, it's problem on problem on problem. And until the Hornets decide that they're not going to let injuries be an excuse, that they are going to play more physical, that they're actually going to go out there and compete against these teams that legitimately want to win basketball games. And, you know, that's the Pacers are motivated. And the Hornets didn't seem very motivated in that second half. I will give Mark Williams credit. When they flashed to him on the sideline, he's been in street clothes for a little bit now. Every time I've seen the camera go to him on the sideline, he's always frowning. He always looks to be really disappointed that he's not out there. Sometimes I see some other guys on the bench, and we've had plenty of guys in street clothes on the bench. Sometimes I see the cutaways, and they're cutting it up a little too much on the bench for my liking. If you're going to be in street clothes, I want to see that. I want to see you turn that smile upside down. Let's see that frown.
Some words of encouragement.
Don't be a clown.
Are you telling me that there's a little bit of that look in Mark Williams' eye? Is that, are you flirting with that?
It's a dour look. It's a sad puppy look that he can't be out there helping his friends. One more funny note from this game. Eric Collins, to open up the fourth quarter, said, quote, 12 more minutes of this one, unquote. And I thought it sounded like a threat.
You sit down and you watch this game.
You got 12 more minutes, buddy. Strap it on.
Some funny moments. They loved TJ McConnell full court pressing Terry Rozier and then Terry beating him with a bucket. Eric had a perfect call because Eric Collins had the equivalent call to Steph Curry turning to the sideline while the ball's still in the air on a corner three. Eric Collins called Terry's shot before it actually went in and had fun at the expense of TJ McConnell. I liked that. Sidelines out of bound play, baseline out of bounds. PJ Washington cuts to the basket, doesn't get it. There's like 4 seconds on the count. And then PJ's like, yeah, all right, I didn't get it. I guess what do I do now? And then Gordon gets called for 5 seconds and is like, wait, can somebody get open? And Gordon is so mad. Gordon's so mad because it's like, what? Yeah, if I throw it, I get a turnover. Like, so what? I guess I just have to hold it and get the turnover for the team. Can somebody get opens on sidelines? Steve, can you call a play where someone gets open? Somebody, anybody.
Well, that's been a problem for a long time. Gordon Hayward probably spent the morning throwing up his entire guts. He only played 23 minutes. I don't think he's all the way over the stomach virus, but he tried to gut it out, if you will. And he's like, I would like to throw it in so that I can go and throw up, please. Can someone just please, God, get open? No, it's been a problem. That's like the third. I feel like the third 5-second call in 3 games. I mean, it's crazy. Again, but it is. I think it is important to note that because there are, I just think, basic problems with how this team that they're playing right now, and the level of focus, the level of intensity, the level of, I think physicality that is required to be competitive against better teams in the East, and certainly they're about to play a lot of great teams out West. That's required. Hopefully, they've needed wake up call after wake up call, but hopefully, this can send a signal that hey, we've got to really short things up before they go out West.
They have Denver on Saturday at home. Then it's the West Coast road trip. So things are not looking great. I want to end on one other fun note, at least for me, because it's hard to find the fun. There was one place I found the fun. Mensah, 7 minutes in this game.
Mm-hmm.
My man tried, Doug. Yeah, like big tip of the cap to Nathan Mensah, who comes in this game and just tries. And like anytime you see somebody going 2 hands straight up, like I know this is somebody that is willing to do whatever the coach tells them. And hands straight up, defends, I think it was a Miles Turner shot where Miles still might have hit it because he actually went on a little mini run himself in that first quarter, I think it was. But Mensah at least battled, contested, grabbed the rebound. I think it was after a missed shot now I think about it because I think he grabbed the rebound afterwards as well. So, look, it's hard. Like, Mensah's coming in here having to play Valanciunas, having to play Joel Embiid. There's a lot of talent out there at the center spot that it's your responsibility, buddy, because if PJ's not in the game, then it's Nick Richards, and we need some moments from you. And I think he gave him some. So, anyways, just 7 minutes of nice effort. And 2 of 2 from the field, by the way. Like, hit both of his shots. What else do you want from him, man?
Nice touch.
Yeah, I'll take it.
No, I mean, look, he's in a bad situation. This is not an ideal situation for a player like him to come in and try to make it happen. So, but he is trying, is giving good energy out there, and hopefully he learns from it, gets better. But the Hornets should not be playing him as their third string center against a team in the Indiana Pacers, by the way, that have 2 centers, and both of them can shoot threes effectively. The Hornets have exactly 0 centers that can shoot the ball effectively. Yeah,
Mark Williams not going to hit that over 10 that he set himself for on the 3-point total this year. All right, that'll do it. That was a fun episode at the beginning. I'm still in my head.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year,
Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah. Enjoy the holiday.
Yeah. All right. Make sure you still stay tuned. If you want to get away from family for a little while this holiday season, go into the sunroom, maybe, get a cup of coffee in the morning, get away from all of the annoying family members, and pull up everyhornetsboxscore.com and look at some of the pain that the Hornets have gone through with 50 and 30-point losses. That will feel a lot more better. That will feel a lot better. Yes. Sorry. A lot more better. I can speak. And I'm Walker Mail. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. You can also check us out. Our content is downloaded on WFNZ.com. This is our last show for a little while, so we're going to be making the holiday trips. I'm going to Indianapolis. I think Doug's traveling too. And then we will be back with you, I believe, maybe the day after Christmas or Tuesday. 2 days after. So Tuesday, we'll be back with you and put out another episode. Have a great holiday weekend, and we won't be gone too long. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.